It didn't start with sirens or screams. It started with a smell that didn't belong in the night. The highway was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes cops extra alert. Red and blue lights flashed behind a dark sedan rolling a little too slow, a little too careful. Just a routine stop, broken taillight, nothing dramatic, or so it seemed. The woman behind the wheel pulled over smoothly, no shaking hands, no sudden moves. Her face stayed blank, calm, like she'd done this 100 times before. The officer leaned in, asked for license and registration. That's when it hit him, a heavy, sour stench creeping out of the car. Not alcohol, not trash, something deeper, something wrong. The kind of smell that sticks to your throat. The officer stepped back, instincts firing. He'd smelled death before. You don't forget it once you do. Another cop joined him. They exchanged that look, no words needed. The woman noticed, but didn't react. She just stared ahead, eyes steady, breathing slow, too calm. They asked her to step out of the vehicle. She did. No resistance, no questions. Her heels touched the asphalt like this was just another stop on her way home. One officer stayed with her. The other moved toward the back of the car, the trunk. When it opened, the night changed. Wrapped shapes lay inside, packed tight, layered with care. Plastic, tape, fabric. Whoever did this wasn't sloppy. This wasn't panic. This was planning. The smell rushed out stronger now, undeniable, human, final. For a second, no one spoke. Cops are trained for chaos, but sometimes silence hits harder. Backup was called immediately. The road was shut down. Flashlights cut through the dark like knives. The woman didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't even look surprised. She just stood there. That's when the cuffs came out. As they placed her under arrest, she finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost bored. "Can I sit down?" No denial, no excuses, like this moment had been scheduled. By sunrise, the story was already growing teeth. Investigators worked fast. The victims weren't random. They were connected to her. Old ties, personal history, the kind that leaves scars long before it leaves bodies. Detectives began pulling threads, phone records, old arguments, money trails, broken relationships. The picture forming wasn't messy, it was clean, too clean. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't heat of the moment. This was a decision. Neighbors later said she was quiet but normal. Co-workers called her focused. Friends said she'd changed over the past year, grown distant, colder. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody ever does. Inside the interrogation room, she sat straight-backed, eyes locked forward. No tears, no shaking, just patience, like she knew time was on her side even now. Detectives pressed. She listened, said little. When she did speak, her words were sharp and controlled. Every answer raised more questions. By the end of the day, charges stacked like bricks, multiple counts, violent offenses, crimes that don't fade from headlines. Officers who'd seen everything admitted later this one stayed with them, not because of the bodies, because of her calm. Because evil didn't look wild or angry this time. It looked organized, it looked prepared, it looked human. And this was only the beginning. By morning, the interrogation room smelled like cold coffee and tension. She sat there for hours, wrists cuffed to the table, posture perfect. No lawyer yet, no panic. Just that same calm expression, like she was waiting for a delayed flight instead of answers that could bury her for life. Detectives rotated in and out, changing tones, changing faces, soft questions, hard pressure, silence. She barely reacted. They slid photos across the table, faces of the victims, names spoken slowly, carefully. That's when something shifted. Not fear, not regret, just a flicker, a tightening around the eyes, a crack, small but real. Investigators knew then, this wasn't random violence, this was personal. As teams worked the crime scene back at the vehicle, details got darker. The wrapping was precise, layers sealed tight, no fingerprints where there shouldn't be any, no rushed mistakes. Whoever planned this had thought ahead, step by step. They weren't running from guilt, they were running a plan. Phones were pulled, messages recovered, deleted texts stitched back together like broken bones. What came up wasn't explosive, it was slow burning. Arguments that stretched back months, control issues, obsession hiding behind polite words, threats disguised as jokes, warnings nobody took seriously. The victims weren't strangers, they were people who once trusted her. Detectives traced movements through traffic cams and gas stations. She'd driven calmly, obeyed speed limits, stopped for fuel like any normal night, even bought a drink, smiled at the cashier. The bodies were already in the trunk then. That detail made hardened officers uneasy. At her apartment, another story waited. Clean, almost sterile, no blood, no signs of struggle, but too clean. Drawers organized, surfaces wiped, trash already taken out, like she'd erased the moment instead of living in it. Hidden in a storage box, they found the real timeline, notes, dates, locations, a quiet road map. She didn't write emotions, she wrote logistics, times, routes, solutions. This wasn't rage, this was control. Back in the interrogation room, they changed tactics. "You didn't mean to get caught," one detective said flatly. She looked up for the first time and gave a small smile. That was enough. They talked about the victims, their lives, their families, their last days. She listened like it was someone else's story. When asked why, she finally answered, "They were in my way." No anger, no shaking voice, just fact. Psychologists later said that sentence said everything. She didn't see people, she saw obstacles, problems to remove. And once that switch flipped in her mind, there was no going back. As news broke, the public reacted fast. Headlines exploded, social media went wild. Everyone wanted to know how someone so quiet could carry something so dark. Old photos surfaced, smiling selfies, birthday posts, comments full of hearts and jokes. None of it matched the woman in custody. Families of the victims gathered, demanding answers, demanding justice. Officers stood between grief and fury, knowing nothing they said could fill that space. The city felt heavier, like trust itself had been dented. Inside her cell, she slept. No crying, no pacing, just rest. By the time formal charges were read, prosecutors were clear. This was premeditated, calculated, multiple counts, no room for sympathy, no room for misunderstanding. The evidence stacked high, and it stacked clean. But one question still haunted everyone involved. If the traffic stop hadn't happened, if the smell hadn't leaked out, how far was she willing to go next? Because people like her don't stop when they get what they want. They stop when they're stopped. And the story was far from over. Before the courtroom ever filled, she was already judged in the public eye. By the time prosecutors stepped forward, the case had become a storm. News vans lined the streets. Commentators dissected every photo, every word, every pause in her interviews. They didn't call her by her name anymore. She became a headline, a symbol, a warning. Inside the system, the tone was colder. Detectives rebuilt the timeline minute by minute. When the victims last answered their phones, when their locations went silent, when her car appeared on cameras, moving smoothly through the city like nothing was wrong. No sudden turns, no hesitation, just steady motion toward an ending only she knew. Forensic reports confirmed what investigators feared. The victims had been subdued carefully. No signs of struggle meant trust was used as a weapon. That detail hit hardest. Trust doesn't scream, it opens doors. Prosecutors saw it clearly now. This wasn't one bad night. This was months of mental buildup, a private war she fought alone, planning outcomes instead of consequences. The notes found weren't emotional journals. They were strategy, cold, simple, effective. Her defense team tried to shape a different story. Stress, pressure, mental strain. But the evidence refused to bend. Every action she took after the crime spoke louder than any excuse. The cleanup, the wrapping, the calm drive, the silence. You don't accidentally act that organized. In holding, she stayed distant. Other inmates whispered about her. Some feared her, some admired the control. Guards noted how she observed everything, always listening, always watching, like she was still calculating, even now. Victims' families were the opposite. Their pain was raw. Interviews showed shaking hands, breaking voices, unanswered questions that would never stop echoing. They didn't want theories, they wanted truth. They wanted to know why their loved ones had been reduced to evidence bags and headlines. Court documents leaked small details that chilled the public. She had rehearsed conversations, planned alibis that almost worked, chosen that road deliberately, knowing it was lightly patrolled at night. The only variable she hadn't controlled was decay. That smell saved lives. As pre-trial hearings began, she finally showed something close to emotion. Not guilt, not sadness, frustration. Each new charge tightened the walls around her. Each motion denied chipped away at the fantasy that she could outthink the system. Still, she never broke. When asked if she regretted anything, she paused for a long moment and said, "I regret being interrupted." That single line went viral. People argued online for weeks. Was she born like this or made? Monster or mirror? Experts weighed in. Psychologists analyzed. Armchair detectives flooded comment sections with theories. But no explanation made it easier. The truth was simpler and scarier. She chose this. As the trial date approached, prosecutors prepared for impact. They knew this case wouldn't just be about facts, it would be about control versus consequence, about how evil doesn't always shout. Sometimes it plans quietly and waits. The courtroom would soon hear every detail, every step, every choice. And when the verdict came, it wouldn't erase the damage. It would only close the chapter she started. Because for the victims, the story ended in the trunk of a car. For her, it was about to end under fluorescent lights and locked doors. And the world was watching. The courtroom was silent in a way that felt heavy, like the air itself was waiting. She sat at the defense table, hands folded, eyes forward. No makeup, no expression. The calm that once confused officers now unsettled everyone in the room. This was no longer about shock. This was about judgment. The prosecution began by telling a simple truth. Evil doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it comes planned, wrapped neatly, and driven through the city like any other night. Witnesses took the stand one by one. Officers described the traffic stop, the smell, the moment the trunk opened. Their voices stayed professional, but their eyes gave them away. Some things don't leave you. Families followed. Mothers, fathers, siblings. Their words broke where facts never could. Love turned into loss. Trust turned into funerals. Evidence played out like a slow rewind of a nightmare. Surveillance footage, phone pings, notes recovered from her apartment. The timeline locked together perfectly, like pieces that had always belonged to the same dark puzzle. The defense tried one last angle: mental pressure, isolation, a mind under strain. But the prosecution ended it with one sentence. Pressure doesn't create plans, it reveals them. When it was her turn to speak, the room leaned forward. This was the moment everyone expected: tears, regret, a crack. It never came. She stood, looked at the jury, and spoke evenly. She said she never thought she'd be caught. She said she believed she was smarter than the system. She said she did what she thought was necessary. Not right, necessary. That was the final nail. The jury didn't take long. When they returned, no one was surprised. Guilty on all counts, multiple sentences, life measured in locked doors and numbered days. The judge read the punishment slowly, making sure every word landed. As she was led away, cameras caught her face one last time. No rage, no sorrow, just emptiness, like the story had ended exactly where she expected it to. Outside, the families held each other. Justice didn't bring peace, but it brought an ending. And sometimes that's all the world gets. Years later, the case would still be discussed. Documentaries, podcasts, comment sections filled with theories. People would ask how someone so ordinary could carry something so dark. Experts would analyze, debate, explain. But the truth stayed simple. She chose control over humanity. She chose silence over mercy, and in the end, the smallest thing, a smell, undid everything. Some crimes are loud. This one was quiet, and that's why it terrified everyone.